With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
Oh, hello. Hi there. Hey, welcome. Yes, welcome back once again to Titans Tube. Wow, Jake. It's been a wild past several months. The last time we made a video, but good to see you, sir. How are things up there in Ohio, where you reside? It's good to see you, man.
Great to see you too, Justin. Always a pleasure to hop on here, talk Titans football, even though, sometimes it can be a displeasure at times, especially a lot of last season was a tough slog to get through. But we've broken through up here in Ohio, Justin. It is summertime. The weather is great. We're living good. And if I remember correctly, the Titans have a new franchise quarterback, Justin, and I think that's probably where we need to begin.
We do. Yeah, so we're trying again, Jake. We're trying this franchise quarterback thing again. The biggest news, and that's what Titans fans are going to – it's where all the talk is going to be around is our new quarterback, Cam Ward, out of Miami. Kind of leading up to the draft, I don't know, Jake. I wasn't – it's – seemed like the quarterback position, there wasn't a bona fide, can't miss number one overall pick, a very coveted time or year to have the number one pick. If you needed a quarterback, your Andrew Lucks or your Cam Newtons or even your Trevor Lawrences, even though I don't think Trevor Lawrence has quite lived up to that billing, but still the hype and the no duh, we're going to take this guy. Joe Burrow certainly was one of those guys as well. I don't think Cam Ward was really hyped up as much as all of those other guys. So there's a bit of skepticism coming into the season. But, as things go, with me and my bias, once we selected Cam Ward and we see him donning the Titan blue and the light blue, and I'm looking at highlights and I'm like, yeah, oh, this is the guy. What was I thinking to ever doubt this guy being the pick? Of course, rose-tinted glasses and all that. But man, I keep hearing good things. He seems to have the personality of a leader and a serious kind of taking this job and this huge responsibility very seriously. And it seems like players are already kind of rallying around him, and they're ready to hit the ground running. So all good things coming out about Cam Ward since we've picked him. So it's going to be an interesting offseason, how things develop. And interestingly enough, before I throw it back to you, we do still have Will Levis on this roster, and it's presumed that he's a backup, I guess. I'm kind of surprised. Does he not want to request a trade, or maybe it could be a good thing to kind of help push Ward, through the offseason to have some kind of competition outside of, we also have Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle on the roster. So maybe it's a good thing for this quarterback room to kind of keep Levis around, a guy who has starting experience, but hopefully he doesn't rub off any of his bad habits on Ward as he's learning an NFL offense. But I don't know. We'll see what Will Levis, what the future has in store for him, because I think people are still expecting us to move him at some points, but maybe he is on our roster this season. So we'll see there. But what are your initial thoughts about Cameron Ward and the new face of the franchise?
Absolutely, Justin. I'm going to start completely honestly. Okay. I didn't watch a single snap of Miami Hurricanes football last season. You saw a couple highlights. You saw, cut-ups of that Florida game early in the season where Cam Ward really came onto the scene, made a name for himself. But I didn't know a whole lot about the guy until, maybe a month before the draft, where, you heard the reports, you heard everything. It's going to be Cam Ward, and Vegas always knows, Justin, and those FanDuel draft odds for the first overall pick, Cam Ward ran away with it. And it was a done deal going into draft night. I was calling it Cam Ward Day when that Thursday finally came around. Happy Cam Ward Day to all those who celebrated. And this guy, Justin, I like him. He's got a very cool, calm, confident swagger to him. He seems like a
Yeah.
leader. One of my favorite things that I saw out of the draft process was him and Shador were kind of like practicing together. They're filming a video together or something. And Shador was like, let's do a song together. And Cam Ward was like, I don't rap, I play football. And love that.
Yeah.
Like there's just this kind of chip on his shoulder. Everybody, the headline is he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school, played at, nowhere university, Incarnate Word, and then transfers to
Yeah.
Washington, does a couple years at Washington State, and then ends up at Miami. He declared for the draft before coming to Miami, came back as a late round or undrafted guy. So, took the NIL bag, as we're seeing a lot of guys do, stay that extra year in college, make some money while you do it, and improve your draft stock, which he did to the point where he couldn't improve it much more, Justin, and he ends up being the number one
Yeah.
overall pick. He comes in, says the right things, does the right things. I think he is a more he seems like a quiet guy, but he's not that quiet guy that Marcus Mariota was, because, you're
For
going to
sure.
compare him to the other top 5 quarterbacks the Titans have selected over the years, or top 10, the Lockers, the Vince Youngs, the Mariotas, etc. And it's not the same kind of quiet, in my opinion. Marcus Mariota seemed timid, didn't want to ruffle any feathers, but Cam Ward's
Yeah.
quiet in the way of, I'm going to lead by example, but I don't mind, getting in your ear if, I don't think
Yeah.
things are going right. And you heard out of minicamp that he's dragging guys back. Hey, we're going to run this whole route again, and we're going to do it
Yeah.
right, and we're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
do that kind of thing. So you love that vocal leader.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tannehill was somewhat of a vocal leader, but not really the guy. Derrick Henry was the guy. And
Yeah.
while Derrick Henry was great, we love Derrick Henry, yada yada yada. It's in the past, and having a running back be your emotional and spiritual leader in the locker room doesn't quite lend itself the same to when it's your quarterback. When your quarterback is the leader of the franchise, leader of the offense, leader of the team, the guy who carries the torch, being that emotional leader, it's a lot to put on Cam Ward, man, coming in year one. I mean, he is a rookie. I feel like Titans fans need to temper expectations just a little bit. But I'm with you. I love putting on the rose-colored glasses. I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, maybe 9-8 is possible. It could be possible, even though I know deep down the roster is not really a 9-8 roster, Justin. But at least at minimum, you have that spark, that tiny sense of hope with Cam Ward coming in number one overall. Maybe he can flip and turn this thing around.
Man, yeah, I agree with everything you said and the kind of guy he is coming in. And maybe we can look at the rest of this roster here in a second. But I do want to say another thing of note is a little additional added pressure to Cam Ward is, as everyone knows, how about Warren Moon coming out and
Great. Yep.
unretiring his jersey? I don't know if that's ever happened before, and letting Ward have the number one for this team. And I mean, what a great honor, obviously, but having never had a single snap in the NFL, I don't know if what do you do? I was joking with a buddy of mine, like if he ends up being a bust, I mean, do you have to retire the number then, or like how does that play out? I don't know, but it was a cool thing to see, and a classy move by Warren Moon, one of the franchise greats, single franchise. Oilers is part of the Titans. I just want to drive that home again. So,
yeah.
So
I love that.
really cool to see.
I love you brought that up. I know it's kind of like a no pressure kid situation, like what do you do when Hall of Famer Warren Moon comes in with the one jersey and says, "Here, have it." Yeah, like what are you supposed to do? Like, of course I'll take it. Of course. And I think that's kind of it could be a good thing. It could be a look good, feel good, play good situation where, I don't think he's not doing who is the guy from Penn State, the edge rusher? I've already forgotten the draft outside of the first overall pick, Justin.
Oh,
but
Abdul Carter.
Yes, yeah, Abdul Carter wanted Lawrence Taylor's number, and he asks for it, and they say no, and then he was like, "Okay, I want 11." And Phil Simms is retired in New York, and Phil Simms said no.
Yeah,
and it was like, at least it wasn't Cam Ward asking Warren Moon for one. Warren Moon kind of came out gave it to him. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was one of the better stories coming out of the draft. But anyway, sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off. We can get into the rest of Cam
Yeah.
Ward's supporting cast if you would like.
Yeah, so supporting cast, I don't know, I'm just kind of going to roll down through the list here. The
That's
next
fine.
thing is running backs, but that's going to mostly stay the same. I think with Pollard and Spears, although you do have Chestnut there, and we just drafted 6th round Khalil Mullings from Michigan, who's a bigger frame, Jake. This guy's 6'2", 230, and he does give a little bit of a more dynamic approach where Pollard is kind of your balanced back, Spears, speedy, quick guy, and then Mullings could give you that power that maybe Chestnut can't exactly provide. So there might be some competition there, and maybe if he gets the spot, then we'll see some snaps from him this year. But nothing really to help or hurt Ward along as far as that goes. But man, Jake, this wide receiver room, a lot of criticism about the draft. Coming out of the draft, I guess, was did the Titans wait too long to go for a receiver? We didn't see a receiver off the board until the 4th round coming to the Titans, and we got 2 of them. And we also, I'll backpedal a little bit. Free agency, Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett now added to the roster to help out Ridley, and then we still have Burks, Traylon Burks there. Don't know about what Burks can possibly give us after we've seen 4 years of nothing, but he's there, and it just feels kind of unproven and uninspired. Ridley came along, I thought, had a kind of a rough maybe first half of the season, had some drops, but he made some splashes in some games as the season went along. He got to 1,000 yards, which is unless you're AJ Brown, that's a near impossible feat to do in a Titans uniform. So coming off a rocky start, finishing strong. I like Ridley, part of this receiver group, and he's going to have to be strong, obviously, for Ward. And I don't know what we can expect from Jefferson, but at least maybe Tyler Lockett brings you some dependable veteran presence. He's a couple seasons removed from his prime, so not expecting a prime Tyler Lockett season for sure, but just a savvy veteran. He's going to be in the spot that he needs to be, and Ward can count on that. So that can help with progression for him in that sense. But a couple of the receivers we got, Shamira and Alik Ayomanor. Some people think that these could
all-time tough pronunciation receiver room here.
I know.
Chimere Dike and Alik.
Oh, I said
Ayomanor. But who knows?
I should have let you lead with that. Anyway,
it's the off season for everybody, Justin. It's okay. It's really okay.
Okay. It's all right. Yeah, we're hitting OTAs as well here on.
And who was the linebacker we drafted in the 2nd round, Justin? You have that pronunciation?
I'll let you take that one. I'll let you take that one when we get to the defense. Thanks for the heads up there. But who knows what we're kind of going to get with these receivers. I mean, surely they're both going to be on the roster as 4th round picks, and the lack of depth outside of them. But they seem to be guys who people are saying do have upside, and they had some decently strong college seasons coming out. So we'll see what we got there. I mean, it would help this team out so much, and Cam Ward, obviously, if they can kind of develop some chemistry early on and kind of figure out, the Brian Callahan offense. I will throw out Bryce Oliver's name as well. I think this is a guy the coaching staff likes, and it seems like he's on track to probably make the roster as well. He kind of came on as a free agent, I think, last year, undrafted free agent, making the roster. And I guess because everyone likes talking about him, but Restrepo, Cam Ward's favorite target out of Miami, who went undrafted, but to the Titans. So does that help out Restrepo and his odds of Xavier Restrepo?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that right? I'm so scared, to pronounce any more names. So I don't know. People seem to be excited about him, but I feel like he had great production, but he went undrafted for a reason, didn't he? I mean, he seems to still have an outside shot of landing on the roster, but hey, he's probably Cam Ward's #1 fan, so that's going to help him if anything. But I'm just in a lot of lack of experience and talent. I think maybe outside of Ridley for for Ward in this wide receiver room. So I don't know. What's your take? Is this going to be enough for Cam Ward to kind of feel things out and get things going for him?
Justin, I've had some time to ruminate on the 2024 Titans campaign. And, everybody was excited about Calvin Ridley coming in. And I had my doubts. I had my, concerns. However, I thought Ridley was one of the best soldiers on the Titans squad last year. Never
Yeah.
really said anything in the media out of frustration. He had that one blip. I can't even remember what it was at this point, but it was like, hey, you're not wrong. Like, we just suck. Like, and so, he turns in a 1,000-yard year for the Titans with Will Levis playing quarterback. And I mean, he put his boots on and marched every single Sunday, and went out there and did his job. So I respect that from, your wide receiver one. Like, Calvin Ridley has made me a fan looking back on the 2024 campaign. So I like that. Tyler Lockett, Justin, I think is a massive, massive culture signing. When you go back to the
Okay.
rebuild of the 2014-2015 Titans, you draft Mariota and you sign these vets that help build the culture back up. Because once you've hit rock bottom, the Titans have hit rock bottom, Justin. Who was it that dragged us out last time? It was the Brian Arakpos. It was help me out here. Brian Arakpo was a
Delaney
big
Walker.
one. The Delaney Walkers. Thank you. Yes, exactly. It's going to be that type of signing. I don't think we're going to get the production out of Tyler Lockett that we got out of Delaney Walker, but I think it's going to be an incredible veteran presence in that room, in the entire locker room. And I think that is a big signing. It was unexpected. I thought. I know he's a couple years past his prime, as you mentioned, but when you're going to lean on a lot of these rookies, Justin. I think both those fourth-round wide receivers are going to make the roster. I think Restrepo is going to make this roster. Mason Kinsey's got an outside chance, and who knows with Treylon Burks, but you're going to lean on a lot of guys without experience or talent, as you put. I thought that was hilarious. And you're going to need guys like Tyler Lockett to be in their spot, just like you said.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal. So, like I said, Justin, you get the Cam Ward pick, you get the kind of rose-colored glasses, but when you break it down into these position groups like this and you kind of look across the board, you're like, hey, we might be under 6 wins again, but you hope to see that growth. You hope to see that progression. And I'm not even just looking at the roster either, Justin. I'm looking at this coaching staff. I'm looking at Brian Callahan. Like, I'm looking at what is the plan. When the Titans came out on the field last year, it was very obvious there was no plan. There was no strategy. There was no identity. There was no nothing. And coming from the Vrabel era, where it's toughness, we're going to throw the first punch and we're going to keep going until you submit, was the identity of the Titans from day one. And you knew that from day one with Mike Vrabel. But you have a whole season under Callahan, and it's, oh, yeah, he coached Joe Burrow, and he coached Peyton Manning, and he coached all these quarterbacks. And I know Will Levis is a special case, Justin, but I don't, you didn't see any kind of identity. And I think it had to do with the roster construction. I think it had to do with the turnover up top. And we'll see if Amy Adams and, the front office got it right, with Mike Borgonzi being the new GM. They're kind of staking their claim with the first overall pick and Cam Ward and Brian Callahan, lot riding for this whole franchise on this Cam Ward pick. And are you going to build around him? I think they are trying. I think the draft class was encouraging. You would like to see some more offensive line, but you're also going to rely on Cam Ward's ability to escape and navigate the pocket like Will Levis could not do at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, man. I don't quite know how this is all going to shake out. And that's kind of fun and kind of scary at the same time. But I
For
like
sure.
Cam Ward. I like some of the young pieces they're putting around him. I like some of the vets that are coming in. Like I said, I think Tyler Lockett's a great culture signing. You have to build some kind of culture in this Titans locker room because there was no culture and no identity last season. And I think it translated to the record.
Yeah, I absolutely love that you kind of made that connection with Lockett, because I think you're spot on in that this is a culture signing, and you need these signings when you're a rebuilding franchise, especially with the rookie quarterback. I was thinking about the Lockett signing, and I didn't get this. I didn't make this up myself. I saw it somewhere else, but he felt like a Harry Douglas signing at the time, and just past his prime, and didn't really give you much. Didn't really give you much. Maybe Douglas was a nice locker room presence too, but that's how I was kind of looking at it. Whenever you put it like that, and maybe he can be like that kind of Barack Poe or Delaney Walker cultural impact. I think I like looking at Lockett in that light, and that already makes me feel better about the signing, and that can help along these young receivers as well. I think he can be a great mentor to these fourth round draft picks and Restrepo, guys who wasn't even a draft pick, and kind of building on that and looking at the offensive line. I think you could say the same for our new right guard, Kevin Zeitler, coming from Detroit, who was a starter playing winning football. He's entering his age 35 season, so he's near retirement, but hopefully he has some juice left in the tank. But an interesting offensive line build we have going, because now we signed also Dan Moore Jr. from Pittsburgh. Don't know how great he was. He was a 4-year starter in Pittsburgh as a left tackle, so we're trying him out here, which pushes J.C. Latham to maybe his more natural position at right tackle. But I think Zeitler is, again, one of those culture, experienced, proven veteran signings. And that's not only going to help Ward, but he's going to help J.C. Latham out playing next to him. And no hate on Skronsky, but he's a young player as well. And I think that's going to help out J.C. Latham a lot more, playing with an experienced vet who's been to a Pro Bowl, I think. I might have to fact check that. But I think he's been a Pro Bowler before. I think everyone on that Detroit offensive line should have been a Pro Bowler, because they were lights out. They've been lights out for a couple of years now. So hopefully he can bring some of that winning success and influence to this offensive line as well. So, you got to think our offensive line is going to improve for Cam Ward. And just to round out the position group, we did draft a tight end, Gunnar Helm, 4th round. I guess we have 3 4th-round draft picks out of Texas. So we'll see what we got there. Another big-body tight end, but he had some good production for a tight end at the highest level of college football. He had over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns for a Texas team who had a great first season in the SEC. So another weapon possibly for Cam Ward. So, just another young guy to hopefully make some magic with. We're going to make magic with all these young players and talent. Okay,
we're gonna need some magic, Justin.
Moving on, Jake. Talking about magic. If the offense can't make it, maybe the defense needs a little magic themselves. But we can run through this defense. We made some moves in free agency and the draft. Not a whole lot up front, Jake. I don't know. Like you love what you saw from T'Vondre Sweat last season. Hopefully him and Big Jeff can continue some of that dominance that we saw. Highlight of the season was seeing T'Vondre Sweat running with the football and face palming that Cincinnati Bengal offensive lineman into the ground. You love what you saw out of your rookie last year in Sweat. We got Joseph Day up there, who was a presence, I guess. He had not terrible, but not the greatest. But I don't know who else. Who else did we sign, Jake? We did sign.
Okay. Here we go.
Draymond Jones.
Sorry. Okay. Yes.
Was that who you're talking about, Draymond Jones?
No, I was going to go for the pronunciation of our 2nd round edge linebacker, Justin.
Please, yes, save me from having to say it.
Alua Femi Oladejo, nicknamed Femi. I guess from the draft broadcast, or things that have trickled out after that. Yeah, we'll just write down Femi. We'll go with that. But
I'm gonna circle
seems
that
like
part
a
of it.
big energy guy, that Arden Key type guy to, match Arden Key on the other side. You lost Harold Landry this offseason, Justin. And I don't,
Sad to see it.
sad to see it from losing guys from that core Vrabel years. But Harold
Yeah,
Landry never really lived up to that contract, if I'm going to be completely honest. I thought it was an overpay then, and I think it was an overpay now. And, guess where he landed, Justin? With good old
Mike
Coach
Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel in New England. So we'll see if that was a good move or not. I think it's a good idea to kind of cut bait with this roster that you had last season, get younger, get cheaper, try and build the culture, like I said, with the offensive side of the ball, and see what you can't make of it. We lost some more guys. Kenneth Murray was another guy who departed this offseason. The linebackers are looking thin, Justin. We signed Xavier Woods, I believe, coming from, where did he come from? Xavier
Carolina.
Woods came from Carolina. Yes, good call. And so we'll see what this defense can bring. You lost Awuzie at your cornerback spot. Not that,
Yeah.
that made a whole ton of difference to last year's team. He was hurt all season. But you still got L'Jarius Sneed hanging around the building, Justin. So the defense does not jump off the paper, frankly, in my opinion, but it just needs to be good enough. It just needs
Yeah.
to not roll over. I thought we were okay on defense last year. I thought the defense
Yep.
kept us in a lot of games that we should not have been in. And if we could score more than 10 or 13 points at all last season, we might have not had the number one pick. So,
Yeah. Eric Will Levis didn't make just the most boneheaded turnovers. We were one horrible turnover away from winning multiple games last year.
Yeah.
And that was
absolutely.
largely due to the defense, keeping us in games outside of the
Correct.
Detroit game, which we shouldn't speak of ever.
But yeah, we can go ahead and burn the tape on that one, Justin. But like I said, it's just help your rookie quarterback help you is the job for the defense this year. And we're going to see if this new crop of guys can gel together, see what kind of leadership emerges from that. You're going to look to guys like Big Jeff. You're going to look to guys like Sneed. And you're going to look to guys like Xavier Woods, the vets in the room, to try and help gel this defense together. Because frankly, much like the wide receiver group, Justin, I might start rolling with that tagline you inadvertently created. Not a lot of experience or talent here. So, we're going to see what happens. Anyways, Justin,
you hate to see it.
I have a question for you. Sorry, unless you have something to finish out the defense.
No. Oh, okay. Well, it deserves a mention just because he was the third-round pick, I think. Kevin Winston Jr., safety from Penn State, hopefully can help out, the secondary there. And he's a pick that has had an injury, last year. Played 3 games, I think. So a lot of maybe untapped potential, but hopefully he can come back from that. Titans don't have a great history drafting players coming off injuries. Caleb Farley. Well, Big Jeff came off an ACL and plays at a high level usually. But yeah, and you like what you saw from Jarvis Brownlee Jr. at the corner position coming into his second year. I think he's going to have that starting position opposite of Snead kind of locked down. That was a great, I think 5th round surprise that the secondary sorely needed in this kind of rotating position of corners that we're utilizing. But yeah, I guess all I have to say about the defense.
And forgive me if you mentioned Roger McCreary. Gotta love that guy as well. Kind of. So maybe our defensive secondary is a little bit better than I maybe let on in that previous thing. I'm more worried about our linebackers and edge rushers. A lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, a lot of unknowns in that region. But maybe our defensive backfield can get it done this year, Justin. I have a question.
Snead needs to be healthy. Yeah. We keep on piggybacking off each other, but we can move on. We can move on from the defense.
All right. Very good. Very good. My question, Justin, as a Titans fan, I mean, your family founding season ticket members. You bleed two-tone blue. You've painted your walls two-tone blue. Love the new T-shirt here. You got the Oilers hat. Season, there it is. Season ticket member. Like I
I got
said,
this for free in the mail. All right, that was worth it to buy season tickets for this
so
last place
generous,
team.
so generous of Miss Amy to throw that in for you. Uh,
Yeah.
Justin, as one of the biggest Titans fans I know, do you feel
Oh.
disrespected about the lack of primetime games on the Titans schedule this season?
A little bit, I think. We have the number one overall pick.
Right?
And, you usually see that in prime time a lot. And you know what? Didn't we played well Monday night on Monday? We had 2 Monday night games in back-to-back years in Miami, and we won both of them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just hate to see the Titans winning. I guess I don't know. I mean, I get it in the sense that the Titans don't really draw neutral fans. We're a last place Titans team in maybe the smallest, if not top 3 smallest markets in the whole league. So I kind of get it, but it's cool to see your team, on the nationally televised under the bright lights. And I think every team should at least have one game. They used to do that for Thursday Night Football, where every single team at some point was featured on Thursday Night Football. So, little respect, but yeah, maybe that's a good thing. I mean, maybe this team needs to fly under the radar just a little bit, especially with Cam Ward in his first season. It kind of sucks, but hey, maybe there's some late flexing game situations. Maybe us and the Jags will play for the number 1 seed in the AFC in week 18.
Love
they're
that.
Going to flex that to prime time.
I love the optimism.
I'm not going to hedge my bet on that. Yeah. But it kind of sucks. It does kind of suck, like just from the standpoint of you like seeing your team, on the nationally televised broadcast just once. It's cool. It's cool to see your team being featured, but no featured games for us this year, Jake. What do you think about that?
I saw it coming, but you'd assume with the number 1 overall pick that you would get one primetime game, at least one with the number 1 overall pick. The league wants Cam Ward to be good. The league wants its teams to be marketable, right? You'd think so.
You know where I think they may have missed an opportunity? When we play the Patriots, that would have drawn some interest in some eyes. With Mike Vrabel, the return of Mike Vrabel, we have the number 1 overall pick. I mean, that would have drawn interest, I think, from neutral fans around the league. That would have been a cool thing to see.
Yeah, I agree. Throw us a bone on Thursday night, man. Like, just even a Thursday night Jags matchup. Everybody loves to meme the Titans Jags Thursday night game. Come on, you're not even going to give us that. I like that anecdote though. Mike Vrabel. I know Titans Patriots, bad primetime matchup, especially if you look at last season. But I agree that would have drawn a little bit of intrigue with Mike Vrabel coming back to Nashville. At least you think, But Justin, I'm going to go through this schedule real quick. All these games are, 4:05, 3:05 Central, or 1:00. Or noon Central. Sorry, we're operating on different time zones. I didn't know if folks, watching knew that. But okay, you open the season at Denver. You don't love that draw for a young quarterback going to play in the altitude, going to play a tough team in Denver. Sean Payton, a good defense. Don't love that draw week 1. And it doesn't get quite any better, Justin, coming home to make your home debut against the Rams. Sean McVay is probably going to give him a tough time.
Yeah. We might be looking at 0-2. We might be staring at 0-2 in the face. And you want to look at that week 3 as here's the moment. Colts coming to town.
Yep.
Let's get ready let's look ahead to week 3 and get ready for that. Terrible to say, but
no, I agree.
That's a tough way. That's a tough way to open the season at Broncos and then hosting the always competitive Rams with Matthew Stafford. So we'll see, though. Yeah, but
I agree.
Continue.
I agree. And then, home against the Colts. I think that's where your season begins, Justin. I was going to say the same thing. I totally agree. And then at Houston, which, proves to be
Mm,
a close game, it seems, no matter what. I know the last game of the season, where the Oilers throwbacks, the tank was fully on. That game was never
yeah.
close. It was never supposed to be close. But this Stroud Houston Texans team, I feel like we can always give them somewhat of a competitive game typically. And then you
Mm.
have at Arizona, at the Las Vegas Raiders. Two winnable games, in
Winnable.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus home against New England. We got that one circled, Justin. I think
Ooh.
that's winnable. At Indy, winnable. And then home against the Chargers, maybe winnable. So, like you said, I think the season starts at week 3. And how many games is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before your bye week and week 10, Justin.
And
If the
I
Titans can
went ahead
be
and penciled.
3-6, 4-5, we might be talking. We might be thinking something here. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I went ahead and wrote a W every time you said winnable, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you count the Chargers, we might be 6-3 if we win our winnable games, which
Dude,
all 6 would be. But
Justin, if we'll come back to this video, if we have 6 wins at the bye week, I'm gonna send you $100 bill in the mail, just for
yes,
funsies.
that sounds
I
very
love
fun.
it.
I like
And
that.
I would be happy to do it if we had 6 wins at the bye week. But, I think there's some winnable games there. And then coming out of the bye, you've got Houston at home, Seattle at home, Jacksonville at home. You've got 4 straight home games with a bye in between. Love that.
That's
Love that
wild.
stretch in the middle.
I don't think we
And
have a
then
single away game in the month of November. Is that, or
correct.
is it
Yes, you are
October?
correct. Correct.
Wow, that's crazy. I've
That's
never seen
awesome.
a 4-game homestand, especially with a bye in there too. That is a long time this team will not have to travel for a game.
That's going to be nice, especially sitting at 6-3, Justin. We're gonna get people healthy, get people back, get ready for the playoff push, and try and improve on 6-3 at that point. I like this. All
Yes.
right, and then
For
after
the
the
playoff push.
homestand, you're on the road at Cleveland, winnable. At San Fran, maybe not. Versus Kansas City, maybe not. New Orleans, very winnable. At Jacksonville to end the season, playing for that number 1 seed, like you mentioned, Justin. Uh, I think it could be a favorable schedule. Everybody's afraid of those first couple of weeks, but I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a good schedule draw for the Titans. And I think the lack of primetime games feeds into the narrative of Cam Ward, 0-star recruit. And then everybody, as the draft leading up, worst draft class in a long time. This isn't the draft class. Weak draft class, weak quarterback class, no real stars, no primetime games.
Yeah.
I think there's some winnable games here, Justin, and I think the Titans can improve on 3 wins. You hope. You hope that you have seen
Yeah.
the crater and the bottoming out of the Tennessee Titans. And I think there's improvement on this schedule. I think the
Yeah.
over-under is 5.5, maybe 6.5 wins. I think 7-10 is possible. I think 8-9 is possible if the ball bounces your way. And I think 9-8 is possible if Cam Ward ends up being a Jaden Daniels type draft pick and busts on the scene right away. Now, am I a
Yeah.
Titans fan sitting with a Titans flag, wearing Titans colors on a Titans show with a Titans season ticket holder saying that? Of course I am. But
Of course.
of course I am. But I think there's some winnable games here. And I think it's not impossible. Do I think it's improbable? Yes. I think it's not, I think we're going to hover around 5 or 6 wins this season. But that is doubling our production last year, Justin. And there's nowhere to go
True.
but up. And just give us that glimmer of hope. Just give us a little taste of winning football, and we'll be back.
And I mean, we don't have much further we can drop. The only place to go is up. I totally am on board, and I gotta tell you, that rant, I'm like 100% more excited for the season now than I was before this video, and that's why I come on here, Jake, and do this with you. You inspire the optimism for me. Like I think I'm feeling a little good about this franchise now, and I think screw the primetime games. Maybe that does help this team. You know, you're playing football on Sunday for the whole season, plus or minus 3 hours. We don't even have a Sunday night game. You're playing at roughly the same time every single week. You can get that consistency. There's no weird scheduling and have to change up your practice regimen and all that. So maybe the consistency will help and get this team into a rhythm to rebuild this franchise to where we want to be at. So, yeah, I like it. And I was thinking with all of these international games too, they didn't even throw us a bone for going to Mexico City or
I'm
Germany
glad.
or wherever else.
Good.
And that's a good thing. Yeah.
Let other people have that.
That's a little much. That'd be too much for a rebuilding franchise to handle all that too. Like, yeah, maybe the bone they threw us is giving us the easiest possible schedule in terms of when we're playing, and just like, let's just let the Titans figure this out on their own. They're playing on Sundays every week, getting the 4th and 5th lead broadcast team for Fox and CBS.
Can't wait for Andrew Catalan and Charles. What's his name? Charles something. I swear it's them every single week. But Charles Davis.
Yeah, Charles Davis. Yeah.
Classic.
I see it.
Classic.
I'm looking forward to
it. Love it, Justin. And it's funny that you mentioned that I give you optimism, because I thought it was the other way around. If you asked anybody in my life who, follows my Titans fandom, who knows I'm a Titans fan, Jake is the most pessimistic fan you would ever meet in your entire life. Dude is all negativity all the time. No, I feel like I'm a realist. I feel like see it. I call it as I see him. But Justin, you give me the rose-colored glasses and you bring the optimism. And I feel like we have a good yin and yang, at least as far as co-hosts on this show goes.
Yeah. When I'm feeling down, you come out of nowhere with the optimism. But yeah, like last season when the team was down, you were rightly very critical and very upset with this franchise and Will Levis's play and all that, calling out people left and right. And you're right to do that. And I guess I was the guy, no, there's always next year. Yay, we'll be okay. I mean, yeah, man, you lifted my spirits, and hopefully you lifted the spirits of everyone watching this channel. So I think, yeah, Titans Tube is back for another season. We might take a nap for the next 3 months and wake up in August and give you some preseason content. But who knows? We might be back again with another video if something happens in the off season. Sure, yeah. But usually when the season comes around, that's when we're going to be on here every week talking about the games. So looking forward to being back with you guys, and Jake, looking forward to being back with you, man.
Likewise, Justin. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that jazz. Thank y'all for tuning in to another Titans Tube episode. We're excited for the season. Like Justin said, excited to be back with you, man, as well. We will see y'all in the next one. Tighten up.